Good afternoon, everybody. This is Captain Stephen Littlewood from Prince William Composite Squadron, coming to you with a special presentation. This is outside of our normal emergency services professional development series, but this presentation is sort of requested because I have seen a lot of chat going on within teams, within the wing, or on the Facebook pages about what do we do to onboard a new member? What is the process? What are the links? Like, where do I find the information? It, I guess it was probably before my time. There was either a unit produced, wing produced, maybe it was national headquarters produced. I can't find the document now, but a sort of onboarding checklist for new senior members. So what I decided to do is pull together sort of some best practices, produce a slideshow. I'll have the video presentation here. I'll also upload the slide deck into Teams, and I guess on Facebook as well, or wherever anybody needs it, with all the links to resources and everything that I'll be discussing. So that way, hopefully you have one presentation with all the hyperlinks you need to the national website and all the different resources around. So without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss onboarding new senior members. And this presentation is made for education and training officers, deputy commander for seniors, commanders, and those new members. So it's hopefully it's a one-stop shop for everybody, sort of guide themselves through the process. If there's something that I'm missing, please let me know, and I definitely want to update this as much as I can to make it all-encompassing tool for whoever needs it to help us onboard new senior members more efficiently. So let me go ahead and share this screen here. All right. So here we go. Onboarding senior members. Always technical issues. One of these days I'll get it all figured out, so this runs super smooth. Today is not that day. Okay, here's what we're going to be talking about. First is an overview. So we're going to be talking about how do you prepare. So if you are the person that is made responsible for onboarding a new senior member, how do you prepare for that? What are the things that you should be looking? What references should you be looking at? What documents should you be pulling down? And we'll go into this in more detail. We'll talk about the application process itself for the senior member, and so the steps they need to take, and also what steps that we need to take as squadron leadership or the education and training officer or personnel officer, deputy commander for seniors, whoever's being responsible for guiding that prospective member through the application process. And then we want them to be successful here. So, again, having issues. All right, we're also going to talk about setting up e-services. This is another thing I see as I'm teaching courses or trying to mentor somebody through a specialty track or get onboarding them, that a lot of people don't know sort of the ins and outs of e-services. So we want to make sure that we get the individuals set up once they get the email from national headquarters. Big thing is getting them started on their level one. The level one process is the professional development or education and training version of onboarding. So this is where they're going to start learning about the Civil Air Patrol, customs and courtesies, everything else. We need to get them started in that and not having them linger around trying to figure out what to do next. We're going to talk about the path of progression as a separate item outside of getting them started in the education and training program, only because this is still pretty confusing for a lot of current members that are mentoring new prospective members through or newly joined senior members. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And then what to do after completion. We're sort of failing sometimes to do the follow through aspect. Like, okay, go into access, complete level 1, and then crickets. All right, so first let's talk about preparing. The biggest thing, if you're responsible for onboarding a new senior member, is knowing your resources. So being very familiar with CAP regulation 40 TAC 1, CAP regulation 35 TAC 5. So we want to look at the education and training process. We want to look at our senior member promotion process, because that directly ties in to the onboarding and the paperwork that we need to do and the mentoring that we need to complete. Your CAP Form 12, this was updated, and we'll go into this more. So make sure you have the new application. Review the first talk pamphlet or PDF, and then also be prepared for the summary conversation. Make sure you're constantly reviewing these documents so you're prepared to provide those. And I highly recommend anybody that's responsible for onboarding any new senior members is always going back and reviewing CAP pamphlet or Civil Air Patrol pamphlet 40 TAC 7 on mentoring. This is huge. We're not just guiding them through some paperwork. We are that first level of mentorship of helping a new senior member integrate into the Civil Air Patrol, integrate into their unit, and then mentoring them and guiding them, helping them develop as a professional volunteer within whatever aspect of Civil Air Patrol that brought them in the door, but also the leadership aspect, because we say a lot, the Civil Air Patrol is a leadership laboratory for the cadets. Well, it's also a leadership laboratory for a lot of senior members that's never been in a position. They've maybe never held a leadership position or been responsible for major financial decisions or property or personnel, the health and well-being of a unit or subordinate people. So the leadership laboratory is all around. Even prior military members that have either 4 years or 30 years of service, this is a whole new leadership challenge for us, because before it was do what I said, because you're required to. We have a mission to accomplish. There's the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You have to respect the rank. You have to respect the position, and the consequences were much higher. That style of leadership doesn't work in a volunteer organization. So we have to learn how to mentor and guide and help develop people from a non-military background, especially a lot of the prior military members that get advanced rank may want to fall back on that rank trying to get volunteers to do something when that rank doesn't have the backing that it did in the military. That's another professional development series talk, and also bringing your leadership to Civil Air Patrol is a level 1 or level 2. I believe that's a level 2 course. So anybody that's went past level 2, you should have got that. Okay, now we're getting into the nitty gritty. You have a prospective member that wants to join Civil Air Patrol, and let's look at the application process. First and foremost, in January of this year, National Headquarters updated and simplified the senior member application. So here's a hyperlink. You can find it on gocivilairpatrol.com in the publications library under forms. It's CAP, Civil Air Patrol Form 12. And you want to make sure you can do almost all of this digitally, but in the end, it does have to be printed off, because all of this stuff will get mailed into National Headquarters. They're going to do a fingerprint card. Now, the fingerprints can be taken electronically or in ink. If they are taken electronically, they need to be printed onto the standard FBI fingerprint card, which I put an example on the very last slide. We'll look at that of some of the required information that needs to be filled out and to particular sections, letting them know what type of background investigation is required, who's going to be the responsible authority of maintaining the fingerprint card, and then why is the individual requesting or required to get fingerprints. We'll look at that at the last slide, but either way, if it's done in ink or done electronically, it has to be on a physical fingerprint card. And then they're going to do a cashier's check or a money order or a check for national and wing dues. If you're trying to figure out what all the dues that they need to provide, it's for Virginia, it's $53. Each state is different, but if you follow the link here to the national headquarters website for membership dues, you find the wing that you are joining or that you are in, and then it'll tell you the dues. Pretty simple. Next, you want to download this document, make sure you have a copy of it. It's the first talk. This is sort of an introduction to cadet protection program, but it's also that second line of defense. So the first line of defense is the application process. The second line of defense is sort of like the interviewing process. And this should be done by somebody within the squadron or command leadership, preferably also members of the membership board. And you want to sit down and get a feel for the applicant and just talk to them. And during the first talk, you're going to review their application. So they need to have their application completed before you schedule the first talk with them. It could be the same evening. You can sit down, give them the application, they handwrite it out, or you can email the application to them, or give them the website or the link here, have them download it and bring the application to the next meeting. Either way, you need that application, and the members that are going to sit down and conduct the first talk need to go through and review the applications, be ready to ask questions. So there are bad seeds out there, and by telling them that there's going to be a FBI background check is like sort of like a first scare away or first line of defense. Having them fill out the application and submitting it also a sort of line of defense, but that there are some people that can get past those, and then that's what the cadet protection program is for. But there's a reason for all these steps. But here's a resource. The number of meetings a senior member has to attend before they can submit their application is up to the command. A lot of commands have this 3-meeting policy, but that's the only place that states 3 meetings are required is for the cadet side of the house. There's actually nothing in the regulation that points out that a senior member has to attend 3 meetings. So it's up to the command, either to the wing will have a policy, or the local command or group may have a policy. But just as a reminder, it's up to the command. I recommend, especially if somebody has no experience within the Civil Air Patrol, have them come to a few meetings, make sure it's what they expect, or you help suppress some over expectations that they may have. Show them what actual meetings are like, and have them meet different personnel in the organization, especially have them sit down and talk to individuals within your command that are associated with whatever is bringing that senior member through the door. So if they really want to do emergency services stuff, or they really want to be a pilot, have them sit down and talk to individuals that do those jobs or specialty tracks or have those qualifications before they sign up, because they may think that they're going to be immediately flying and up in the air, and their civilian or their military pilot qualifications will just allow them to jump right into the aircraft and start going, when we all know that's not the case. It's a little bit more drawn out process like that, with check rides and submitting documentation and going through training. So we want to sort of calm some of the expectations and give them a good understanding of what Civil Air Patrol is, what our actual capabilities are, and ensure that it's a right fit for them. And one way to do that is through the meeting. I highly, this is just because I come from the intel background and I'm very suspicious of people doing social engineering and other aspects, but the fact that we are sending money, our fingerprints, our social security number, birth dates, driver's license number, all this information through snail mail. Snail mail meaning like you actually put in a mailbox, slow. It's not email or fax scanned over. That's a lot of PII. So I highly recommend, I can't stress this enough. We have a senior member going through this right now. He decided to send his stuff through snail mail. It's been over 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks now. We have no idea what's going on with this application, where it's at, anything. If you send FedEx, UPS, or registered mail, it goes from where you delivered it through that company's hands or through the post office, but then it bypasses the local civilian post office in Montgomery, Alabama. And then it bypasses the on-base mail room where all the mail has to be physically hand sorted and wait for somebody from the unit to come pick up a bag of mail, take it back to their unit, then physically separate this large bag of mail, and then deliver it to whoever it's supposed to go to. It bypasses all that. We're sending registered mail, UPS, FedEx, when it's trackable, and it goes directly to the building. So it goes directly to the national headquarters building, and from there, people within the building will take it to the appropriate office. So again, it contains a lot of personal information. Like if I wanted to steal somebody's identity, that would be the package. I got everything that I need right there almost. And then we want to be able to see if it is tracked. So that way, if you FedExed it down, and you don't have to do like overnight FedEx, just you can do the slow method, but you can track it. You can see when it's signed for, give it a few days. And then after a week, if you haven't seen any movement on the senior member's application, then you can call national headquarters or email them like, hey, you signed for this application like over a week ago. Is there a holdup? Is there something that we're missing? Do you need additional information? And if they say they didn't receive it, then, I mean, you have the proof that somebody at that building signed for it. It's just a peace of mind thing, because we are asking a potential new member to hand over all this information, very sensitive information, and trust that we as an organization, as Civil Air Patrol, is going to do the right thing and handle it appropriately. So that's why I recommend this. Not required, but again, I currently have a senior member that sent their application snail mail, and it's been, I'm pretty sure it's been like 3 weeks now. And we have no idea, where it is. So the next thing is have prospective members start gathering documents. This is true if they are active duty, retired, reserve, prior military, a veteran. If they are from a profession like lawyers, healthcare, if they're prior cadets, or they had prior Civil Air Patrol time and stepped away for a few years, while they're waiting for their application to get processed and reviewed and accepted by national headquarters, have them start conducting that scavenger hunt for all this information. So that way, if and when their application is approved, you can start getting a lot of this paperwork submitted to national headquarters to get appropriate credit, or preparing for advanced rank, or explaining to them like what the best path to the progression is. And we'll get more into this. But sometimes it takes a while to get those documents, especially, prior service members, they may have to contact the VA or the National Records to get a copy of their DD-214, which is discharge papers from the military, or somebody may have to request, credentialing to get in, or maybe you have to look up the regulations. So say health services officers, like what certifications, rate, what advanced promotion, and what is accepted by Civil Air Patrol and not. This takes a little time to review the documents and review the regulations. And especially prior senior members that were cadets like 20, 30, 40 years ago, it may take some time tracking down some proof that they earned, like the Eckert Award or their Mitchell Award, or that they were even in Civil Air Patrol at a time and were prior cadets, especially if back when the CAP ID was their social security number. So, it takes some time. But this is that time to start gathering all that information to make both of your lives a little bit easier and get the ball rolling a little bit quicker. And then also your pilots, start having them collect all their FAA certificates, their medical paperwork, getting familiar with the platform, looking up the G1000, getting familiar with the 172 or 182 or whatever aircraft that your squadron has access to that they may be taking their check rides and stuff in. This gives them time to start gathering all of that. So once their application is approved, we can start submitting, especially for pilot onboarding, which I just remembered. I need to add that link in here. So by the time I publish this briefing, when I upload this presentation, I will have the pilot onboarding pamphlet added to it. I'm glad I was talking through this. And then on our side, we need to pay attention to e-services. There are a lot of members that joined Civil Air Patrol. Their application got approved, and this is especially during COVID. Nobody from the squadron reached out to them because they had no idea that their application was finally approved. And so you just had senior members sitting around like, what do I do next? They don't know anything about e-services, about professional development, anything about the meetings. They're sort of lost in the sauce. It's our responsibility, the commanders, the deputy commanders, the personnel officers, the education and training officers. We need to pay attention when you log into e-services in the up left corner where it says seniors in your unit and the particular number. Watch for that to change. Once it changes, it's pretty simple, especially if you're doing your duty assignments or working through your specialty tracks. You're looking at these rosters quite often to see a name, or you should also know what senior members are applying to become members. If that number changes, go and look, because either one, you need to contact your recruiting and retention officer and be like, hey, somebody hasn't paid their dues. Can you find out, are they joining back up? Or two, an application was approved and you have a new senior member. Or three, you had somebody transfer in to your squadron. You probably need to reach out and get them set up, especially if they're coming from a separate wing. You need to get them integrated into your squadron, into your wing, no matter if you're on Google based products or Microsoft based products, or maybe everybody uses personal emails. You still need to collect that information and get them set up. And then if you're not the personnel officer, then you need to contact or get in contact with your personnel officer and get a personnel folder created. Almost all of us are doing this digitally now, so it's as simple of copying a folder template and pasting it into your active senior member files and ensuring that it has, subfolders based on whatever convention that your organization is using, file path requirements. So maybe you have an awards folder, correspondence folder, certificate folders in there, but make sure you get that set up, because that is also a SUI inspectable item, and save a copy of their application. And this is something that we always forget. I'm guilty of this too. Save a copy of that the application, redact their social security number out of it, and save it in the folder just in case something happens. You have a copy. You don't have to have them reprint it and go through the whole process all over again because it got lost in the mail. This is the unit's responsibility here. Next, once they are approved and you saw that number change, you need to get them started immediately. Like, don't wait for them to reach out to you. Reach out to them. Be proactive. It shows that you actually care about them joining the unit, that you are looking out for their well-being. So when you see seniors in your unit number change, immediately reach out to that new member. You should have their personal email address from the application and your correspondence with them before they, submitted their application. They will receive an email from national headquarters inviting them to set up their e-services account. As soon as they set up that account, they're immediately going to, before they can move on, they need to complete the OPSEC course. But you may need to tell them, like, hey, once you log in, you got your password and everything set up, do the OPSEC course, and then we'll schedule a call or I'll sit down with you in person, whatever your process is. I prefer face-to-face, either virtually or in person, and guide them through the rest of the stuff that we're going to talk about in here. And if your wing issues an account either through Google or Microsoft, like here in Virginia Wing, we do everything through Microsoft Teams and SharePoint, the Office 365 suite. If the wing is proactive, Virginia Wing, the member will get an email saying, hey, welcome to Virginia Wing. Here's a link to set up your Office 365 account. If your wing doesn't have that automated, then reach out to your wing IT officer and get your new member's email account set up as soon as possible, and start getting them integrated into whatever electronic backbone that your organization uses, your wing uses. Again, it could be Teams, it could be Google, it could be something else. Each wing is slightly different, but you get the gist. Get them set up, because once you get that set up, we are going to want to go into e-services. Go up in the upper right corner, click on their name, and this is why I highly recommend doing this in person. In person meaning virtually, like over Teams or over Zoom or at a meeting, or you meet up at a coffee shop. But take the time, take an hour or two out of your day and sit down and walk them through all this. So you want to go up to upper right corner in their account, click on general information, click on their name, drop down menu opens up, and e-services. Click on general information. Make sure all of that information is correct. Make sure, national headquarters didn't transcribe their name incorrectly because it was hard reading their handwriting on the application. Make sure their addresses are correct. So maybe they have a different mailing address than their home address, or they travel a lot and, they bounce around. Make sure those addresses are correct. Contacts. This is a big one. Go in there, put in, update their primary contact with their new wing address. If your wing issues an email address, put their personal email as the secondary. Make sure they have their phone numbers correct and updated in there, because people will put like a work phone number on their application, but most of the stuff that we do is outside of their work hours. So every time we try to call them, it goes to their work phone and they never get it. Or if they don't want you to contact them on a particular cell phone number, they can go in and change up their primary and secondary. They can put their emergency contact information in there. Just ensure this is up to date, because once you start sending out emails on pertaining to education and training events or squadron events or wing events or emergency services related events, you want to make sure that they're actually receiving the information. I'd probably say a good quarter of our wing hasn't changed their contact stuff, and they're still using the old like Google emails, or they set up their wing email and actually never went back and logged into it. So all the correspondence is going to their wing email, and they never check it. They only check their personal, or vice versa. So it's important to sit and walk through this with the individual to make sure that any wing corps or any Civil Air Patrol correspondence is going to the destination in which they are actually going to pay attention to it and respond. And same with phone numbers. If we need a call, give us a number that you're probably going to answer during the time that we're probably going to call. Make sure you go into the dues and auto renewal. Ask them if they want to set up auto renewal for their dues. If not, they're going to have to send a check in or a money order in every year. Trust me, they will not forget to send in their dues unless they just become inactive and stop logging into e-services, because there's a huge red banner about 3 months out of your dues being due. At the top of e-services, your membership's going to expire. You need to pay your dues, and no matter what, you can't get rid of that warning until your membership date comes around and your dues are paid. And then if they don't pay their dues, their account gets locked out. Make sure their characteristics, so their biographical information is up to date. So sex, race, all the biographic data. And then photos huge, people. So many people in Civil Air Patrol have a CAP ID with the logo on it because they did not submit their photo like within that first week of joining and get it approved by the commander. So talking to national headquarters, what they do is when the background investigation is submitted, and you can tell by looking in the member search if it has a P or an A at the top of the member search for an individual. Once that background investigation comes back and they're cleared, it is accepted, this national headquarters contracts the production of the CAP IDs out to a company, and the company gets an automatic notification like, hey, print this CAP ID. And if they don't have a photo in there, they just print the ID with no photo. You get your photos, the Civil Air Patrol logo. So we want to make sure that's like the first thing. You can do it during a meeting. You can even take the picture as soon as they get their submit their application, so you have it on file. But remember, it needs to be shoulders up, white background, not a glamour shots style photo. We're not running a modeling agency, but a clear photo that you can recognize, like, yes, this individual's face matches the individual standing in front of me saying that they're a captain in the Civil Air Patrol. So make sure it's clean, professional looking, and it's submitted as soon as possible and approved by the commander, and it displays correctly within e-services. Huge, huge, huge thing. Okay. The next item you want to do is set up their favorite. So if you don't know, you go to the name in the upper right corner of e-services, you click on that, drop down menu is going to open up. Halfway down, you're going to see favorites. Select it. You'll get a new screen that pops up and have a list of all the generic menu items or subtitles under the menu for the different sectional areas. So online learning and operations and logistics and communications. What's important for somebody that just joining is you will click on the star next to these 4 items. When you click on the star, it'll turn yellow, it'll light up. And that's all you have to do. Once you click these, you can go back to the top center of your screen, click on the Civil Air Patrol logo where it says e-services, and it takes you back to the home screen. And now you'll have these favorites on their home screen. So if you didn't know how to do that, now you do, and you can do it for all of your duty assignments and specialty tracks and other things that you use all the time But for somebody just joining learning management system, they need to easily be able to get to access and the other items in LMS. I highly recommend putting CAT pubs, forms, and regulations as a favorite. So that way, if they're in the e-services and they're trying to figure something out, they can easily click on that. It's going to do the same thing. It's going to take them to the gocivilairpatrol.com, to the publications library. But if you don't have them bookmark that stuff yet, this is an easy way to get to the publication library. You want to have them bookmark professional levels application, so that way it's very easy for them once you explain the professional levels and how the senior member education and training system works, that they can easily go in and look at what they are still required to do, because we all know Access just has the classes. It doesn't tell you your progress. Professional levels tells you your progress. That is the record. So if it's not in professional levels, it doesn't count until you get it put in professional levels. So show them how to bookmark professional levels, and then later we're going to talk about walking them through. And then operations qualifications, if that's something that they're interested in, like as a pilot or anything else, have them bookmark ops quals, because they're going to be going in and uploading a whole bunch of documentation. Another thing you should be pushing for them to do is get a copy, unofficial copy of their driving record, and submit for a Civil Air Patrol driver's license, because we all know that we need more drivers for the vans for emergency services activities and cadet program or other squadron events. Trying to find drivers is, you turn on the light to the house and all the cockroaches run. It's about the same way. Like it's very hard to find people willing to drive, or that you have people that's willing to drive but they didn't know about or had never submitted for a Civil Air Patrol driver's license, which we know is a requirement to drive a Civil Air Patrol vehicle. So I'd probably put that as a part of the onboarding process too, but since it's not a part of the education and training program, it's part of emergency services, I didn't put it in here. I may just do it. Because we all need drivers. I don't think anybody has ever had the issue of having too many people willing to drive. I wish during encampment that was the case. Then I highly, highly recommend bookmarking having them bookmark the e-services login page, because sometimes they get in there the first time because they didn't type it in, they didn't search for it, they clicked on a link that they got in the email from national headquarters. That email gets buried within the 1,000 other emails that they have, and now they can't find their way back to e-services. So definitely have them bookmark the e-services login page. Okay, now that we got their e-services account set up, got them functioning, they have a basic feel for it. Now it's time to start them on their education and training journey with level 1, which is the onboarding onboarding level. It's called onboarding in the update. So you want to walk them through professional levels in e-services. So I explained it here because I've run into people that don't know how to get there. You go to the menu in the upper left of e-services, click on it, comes with a drop down, go down to professional development, which one of these days, hopefully they will change it to education and training to match all the other documents. Click on professional levels, then click on professional levels again. And it as long as they're in their account, it will pop up with their CAP ID. And then on the right hand of the screen, you will just select level 1. And then walk them through all of those requirements within level 1. Show them what courses they have to take, and explain to them, like, there may be 4 courses under one section, but if you look in the upper right of the screen in that section, it says 0 of 1. So it means they've completed 0 of the requirements out of, or 0 of the 1 required courses. So out of the 4 listed, they only need to take 1 of those classes. It makes more sense when you're looking in there. Once I get done with this, we'll go look at that. Then after you walk them through the requirements, letting them know what they have to take to complete level 1, now you want to show them where they get the training. So again, menu, online, and once the drop-down menu click on menu in the upper left of your e-services screen, find online learning in that drop-down menu, select learning management system, and then at the very top of the screen, it takes a few seconds to load. It looks kind of spamish. That's why a lot of people won't click on it. Just let the page load, and then a red button will appear at the top of the screen that says go to access. Click on that. It's going to take you to a whole new learning management system. Access has been around for a while. It's just a learning platform. And then you'll come to their main page, and then in the top banner on the far right, you'll see level 1. Have them click on level 1, and then there are all of their online courses that they have to take. There's a couple of those courses that before you have them start jumping in and just start taking things, you want to sit down, go over, have them enroll in the course, open it up, and then walk them through. The first one is the Cadet Protection Program course, or the Cadet Cadet Protection Basic, because it has the summary conversation associated with that. In the course in Access, there's one of the items they have to complete is an acknowledgement saying, I have contacted somebody in my organization to do the summary conversation. And they're supposed to hit complete once the summary conversation is done. And until they do that, the Cadet Protection Program course will not go to 100%. So you need to walk them through, explain that when they get done doing the training, they need to reach out to either the commander, deputy commander for cadets, deputy commander for seniors, the education and training officer, somebody to conduct the summary conversation. Now put the link to the summary conversation in here as well, so you will have that PDF. Once you conduct the summary or explain the summary conversation with them, then there's another course in there, and this is often skipped over. It's called My Learning Path, or New Member Learning Path. I've seen it pop up in different ways. After you complete it, the crazy thing is, like, I can't even find it in my transcripts anymore, but it is a part of level 1 courses. Have them enroll in it, open it up, and then there's a Word document that you download. And the last few times I've had people download it, for some reason the first page is blank. So people are like, oh, it's not loading, there's an issue. No, scroll to the second page. There's 3 pages of the document. Only pages 2 and 3 are printed. And walk them through the My Learning Path document. And if you don't like it, I recommend doing one that more suits your unit or your squadron, or you can even create one for somebody that's interested in emergency services or somebody that's interested in cadet programs, and have them fill that out. The purpose of it is to tell you what they're interested in doing, what types of positions they may be interested or they want more information about within your squadron. And then it's also a learning educational part for you, because have them be truthful and tell you, like, look, I'm probably only going to do one of these classes a week for my level 1. So don't, realistically, it may take me 6 weeks to complete level 1. But have them write it out, one, because we all talk about setting goals. They need to be SMART based. And this is one of those steps. Like, you're setting a goal for them. It's definitely achievable because level one's not too difficult. It can definitely be time-based because they're telling you I can probably do one of these or two of these a week, or I'll have all these done tomorrow. And it's measurable because you can look at professional levels and be like, hey, you said you're going to do one a week. Are you having issues? Do you need, do you need guidance? Any mentoring? Did you forget where the link was? So you sort of help keep them accountable. So that's what the My Learning Path is for. And it also talks about emergency services stuff. So if they're a pilot or if they're interested in other emergency services quals, then you can mix some of that emergency services training stuff. They can't participate in any of the actual training until they complete level one. But they can do some of the access training and preparation to sort of mix up their evenings on what courses they're taking. But definitely sit down and walk through them, have them fill out the document for the My Learning Path, and sort of help write those goals out for them. Because then you can take that document, either you or the commander, deputy commander, the education training officer, their mentor, if you assign another senior member as a mentor to guide them through this process, somebody from the organization will have their learning path, and it will give you key times that remind you, hey, I need to check in with Bob or Susie because I haven't talked to them in a week. They said they're going to create a course or complete a course every week. Let me reach out to them, see how they're doing. That gives a sense that you actually care about the individual joining the unit. You just don't lead them to their own accord and like they'll sink or swim. It's up to them. If they're not motivated, I don't want them here. Well, some people sort of need that guidance. And you'll create that better command climate by reaching out and actually showing somebody that you're actually interested in their progression and that you want them to be a part of the organization. You're here to help them. I highly recommend getting multiple people in your squadron volunteer university instructor qualified. I think level 1 and level 2 should be 100% taught within the squadron, unless like you're in a cadet only squadron, then it's kind of hard. But if you're in a composite squadron or senior member squadron, that mentorship should be taking place at the squadron. Anybody can sign up for a volunteer university instructor. Anybody. So you sign up, let them know why you want to instruct, and you're going to instruct whatever levels you have already completed in the past. And if you don't want to do the online cohorts, that's fine. I don't either. I like to teach in person. I love teaching. I love teaching in person and classroom settings. So first link, the application. All the senior members should be doing this, especially if you're an education and training officer. You need to apply to be an instructor, because instead of having a senior member that is working through level 1 and can't do anything else until they get level 1 complete, instead of having them sit around on their hands twiddling their thumbs for a 2-hour meeting, you can step aside, give them the classes, make them feel accepted in your organization, have them progressing their education and training progress, and then you're able to answer questions on the spot. Most people aren't going to raise their hands and be like, I don't understand this. Because, social capital. They don't want people looking at them like, oh, what are they doing here if they don't know this information? Well, a lot of people don't know the information, just nobody wants to ask the question. You teach in person, you can answer it right then and there. You can tell that by facial expressions, maybe somebody doesn't understand, or they'll just be more comfortable asking because it's a classroom environment. Classrooms are the space for learning, and for some reason, people are more willing to ask questions in a classroom environment compared to a conference or other presentation setting. It's a psyche of adult learning, being a student. The second link here, hyperlink, is if you want more information about what the instructor process is, or how to go through it and what all it entails. That is the link to the Volunteer University instructor site on gocivilairpatrol.com. So hopefully everybody starts clicking that. Then as they work through level 1, either on their own or if you're teaching, the next time you see them in person after they complete one of these courses, sit down and have a conversation with them. One, rank structure, what it means, like the hierarchy, all that stuff, because if somebody's not from a military background, even though they get some class that took them 30 minutes to do online, doesn't mean they understand the rank structure. Look at junior service members. Like you take a Marine PFC and you throw him, say, on Norfolk Naval Station, he's going to be saluting a crap ton of chiefs, E7s and above, because on the Marine Corps side, he was taught if it's shiny on the collar, you salute it. Then chiefs walking around, Navy chiefs walking around, they got that gold anchor on their collar. It looks like a oak leaf cluster from a distance, and until you get up on them and be like, oh crap, okay. Or they don't know what the rank is and be like, I'm confused. That doesn't look like officer rank, but it's shiny. So don't expect, and that's military. That's active duty military that receive, military rank structure training from boot camp all through their schools and everything else, and they still make those mistakes. So having somebody coming from the civilian side of the house, never dealing with the military, it's going to take more than 30 minutes to learn the rank structure, NCO ranks, officer ranks, cadet ranks, the names, what they look like, stuff like that. Then the pillars, our 3 main missions of Civil Air Patrol. Maybe the individual didn't fully understand it all, or they're like, I really want to do emergency services. And once you get them in the door, talk to them about aerospace education and cadet programs and what they may really want to be a testing officer, or they may really want to help with cadet encampments or running PT or physical training. So explain the pillars, explain the opportunities, find out, because hopefully by now they're getting a little bit more comfortable with you and your organization. So have another talk about, hey, these are opportunities, because you want to sort of prep them for when they get to level 2 and they're looking at duty assignments and specialty tracks. You don't want to be trying to re-explain. Let them sample some of the stuff. Let them go sit in an aerospace education session or emergency services session, because they can't do anything else at a meeting yet. They don't have a duty assignment. They can't hold one. They can't get a specialty track. So if you can find out and expose them to all the different things that your unit does and participates in, you may inspire them to like, oh, when I get to level 2, like I really like that. I can help there. And then once they get done with the uniforms, sit down and explain to them about the uniforms. They can't wear the Air Force style uniform until they complete level 1. So talk to them about Vanguard, about the corporate style uniforms, and get them familiar with that and all the components of the uniform. Because again, they're going to do like a 30-minute, 45-minute course. That is not enough to teach them, especially if they're going to wear an Air Force uniform and they end up trying to wear blues. Like, they don't know anything about ribbons and gig lines and ironing the creases and, what shirt stays are if people actually, wear them, or Core Friends versus Oxfords, the benefits and fallbacks of both. Like, there's a lot more that needs to be explained, and that is through mentorship. So have them complete the class, then take time and sit down with them and discuss this stuff. All right, so we got them started with learning. They're taking their classes. Now, this is where we have to do some legwork as a mentor or an education training officer or command personnel. We have to talk to them about their path to progression. And so what are our regulations that sort of guide us for the path to progression? The 40 TAC 1 and the 35 TAC 5, so the education and training program and the membership have a little bit of information in each for the path of progression. So ultimately there's either a veteran, current active duty members, so either they served or they are currently serving as either active duty, guard, reserve. You have prior cadets, either they were a cadet a long time ago or they are transitioning from the cadet program into the senior member program. You have your professionals, so your lawyers, your health services officers, your educators, and even pilots. So they have certain qualities, CFIs, CFIIs. There's different things that you need to know about these for the path of progression, because depending on what their experience and background is, will choose what courses they are assigned during the education and training program. Also, separate but also associated is advanced rank. So what paperwork they're going to be needing. So when they complete level 2 part 1 in the future, do they get an advanced promotion? But for like military, prior cadets, they may get equivalency credits for their prior experience. So you need to know, okay, what path of progression is going to be the most beneficial without insulting the individual. So like you don't want to accidentally enroll a prior military person into the new member path of progression, and now they're having to sit through this long class on learning customs and courtesies, or learning how to drill, what right face, left face, about face, sidestep, column right, column left, hand salute, at ease, parade res. Like they're going to be pissed because you're insulting their intelligence. Be like, I spent 35 or 30 years in the Air Force, or even 4 years in the Marine Corps. Like, I know what a right face and left face is. And instead, they should be taking the differences in drill, so that way, or differences in rank structure or uniforms, so they know, okay, you were in this prior service. This is how CAP wears the U.S. Air Force style uniforms. Or this is the rank structure and its equivalencies of what you know. So you want to review these regulations, pick the best one for them to advance in. Now, just because they choose a path to progression doesn't mean you can't combine stuff. So you could have somebody that's prior military, they got out, and say they were a lieutenant commander or a lieutenant colonel in the Army or Air Force, or lieutenant commander in the Navy, and they were a doctor. They would join, they're not active duty anymore, but they joined Civil Air Patrol. They can do military or professional. So which one works out best for them? Well, for the education and training path, most likely the military path to the progression is the best one for them for education and training, based on the attachments we see on this last bullet, 2 through 9 on CAP Regulation 40 TAC 1, where they get equivalency credit up to Tier 5 PME, which reduces the amount of courses they have to take in the education and training program, because they've already taken more advanced leadership and professional military education. And so why make them go through that training again? So for the education and training path to progression, you would select military. For the advanced rank, when they complete level 2 part 1 and potentially specialty tracks, then you would go professional, because they're a doctor, they have all this experience. But you can, so that may get them one advanced rank, but then look at what their military rank was, and like, okay, would you get more for the military, or would you get more for a professional? Maybe they were only a captain or a Navy lieutenant, so 03, but they're a doctor. But they choose military for their advanced rank, that they're only going to get 03, a captain equivalent. But the doctor, they may get higher rank than that. So you have to know these regulations in and out, go through, balance what is best for them and best for your organization. Again, advanced promotion isn't a guarantee. So, they have to be active in your organization and be professional and providing some benefit to the unit. Don't just give it to them, because then all of a sudden, who knows, they get lieutenant colonel rank and they never show up again. What good did that do? Or they get lieutenant colonel rank and they're like, I'm not doing education and training program because why? Like, I don't want to do command and I don't need it for promotion because I'm already a lieutenant colonel, so I'm not doing the program. So this is where that mentoring piece is very important in explaining the education and training and professional development with them. Also, explain the differences in NCO and officer rank. So, like, what is the progression and the promotion process for officers and NCOs? Can anybody become an NCO? No. So, like, somebody was like, oh, why can't I be an NCO? Well, you have to be a prior active duty guard or reserve NCO or a current NCO to do to go down that path. And then explain to them, as an NCO, you can't be the commander. Same with like the chaplain stuff. Chaplains normally aren't supposed to be commanders. So explain those to them, especially if you have NCOs that are coming in or people that are prior NCO, they may be eligible for either one. Find out what they'll be interested in and explain the pros and cons. Explain to them the assignment restrictions or the progression of assignment for an NCO, how that's tied to some promotions, what the restrictions are, and also explain to them that we Civil Air Patrol NCOs are sort of like Marine warrant officers. You're somewhat a chameleon. You can be the NCO when needed for the most part, and then if your wing really needs a commander appropriate to your experience and background, you can cross back over to the officer ranks, do your command time, cross back over to the NCO side. I mean, you have to put the application in and request to transfer the rank back, but you just cannot hold command as an NCO. You would have to revert over to the officer grade, do your command time, and then revert back. And then also sit down and go over CA Civil Air Patrol Pamphlet 3, Guide to CAP Protocols with the new member, especially if, this is for everybody, because how the Air Force and Civil Air Patrol does certain drill and ceremony things is not the way the Marine Corps did it or does it. So there's still learning and brainwashing sort of muscle memory that I have to override to conform to the customs and courtesies of the Civil Air Patrol. Like being in the corporate polo, I have to train my brain to see that as a uniform because I don't have a cover on. I'm not in a normal military style uniform. My brain tells me if somebody salutes me, I do not salute because I'm in civilian attire. That's the way Marine Corps does it. Or you don't salute indoors unless you're under arms. You're carrying a sword or a rifle or a pistol, or you're on duty in which you're wearing a duty belt. So you don't salute. These are things that I have to still override in my head. And so that's why it's good to constantly review CAP Pamphlet 3, the protocols, so that way you keep reminding yourself of customs and courtesies associated to Civil Air Patrol. And so you want to sit down and talk to the new members about those. new member, prior military, it doesn't matter. Even prior cadets, because that's a huge transition for them. They're going from the cadet program to senior member program. The level of expectations and requirements and work effort and everything are a lot different between what we expect of our cadets and what we sort of expect of our senior members, both good and bad. But it's sometimes it can be a tough transition for them, and knowing those customs and courtesies and sort of using that as a guidebook sort of helps. All right, so this is one of those areas that is often overlooked and forgotten, based on my experience, because I joined during the COVID pandemic. So there's a lot of things like award or presentation wise that I have not seen happen, and I'm guilty as well. I'm trying to do better of ensuring that we do this. But we need to recognize, like, it's a volunteer force. If volunteers aren't recognized for the good work and effort and the time and the money that they're putting towards Civil Air Patrol week after week, month after month, year after year, then they're going to feel unappreciated. They're going to feel like what they do does not matter, and they're going to leave. Or they'll keep renewing their membership and just never come to a meeting. They won't support activities. And whoever's filling billets, like the education officer or recruiting and retention officer, or safety officer, they're trying to make sure the squadron statistics are good, making sure people are progressing in different paths. They keep reaching out to these people and they don't hear anything back. Those individuals are fed up, so they just ignore the emails. They send them directly to spam, but they keep paying their membership dues. So once somebody completes level 1, now they can officially wear the U.S. Air Force style uniform. So again, they can't wear the BDUs or ABUs now, or the dress blues or the blues uniform until they complete level 1. Once they complete level 1, let them know, like, hey, you can wear it. Review how to wear it and where to buy with them again. So don't just leave it up to the level 1 course for them to remember that information and to be able to do it properly. Like, walk them through. If they're interested in purchasing blues and you don't have or even if you do have a uniform locker for your unit, meet with them, go out there, make sure it's proper fit. Make sure they have whatever devices or uniform accessories that they need. And what to wear as a senior member, because senior member is not a rank. So, technically it's not like there's no military equivalent of senior member. So they're probably going to ask, like, what do I put on my shoulder boards, on my blues? Or what do I put on my ABUs if I don't have rank? So do you know where to find that information? Do you know the answer to give them? Can you explain that to them? This goes back to that, be prepared for onboarding a new senior member, but you want to make sure you have this conversation, because if you don't know the answers, they definitely don't know the answers. So you need to be prepared to help them through this process. Also award them, and this helps integrate them into the unit by presenting them their first achievement, their level 1 certificate, and presenting them with their membership ribbon. You're welcoming them formally in a ceremony to the organization. You're telling them you are a part of us. We want to recognize you. We appreciate that you took the time, your own time, that you could be doing something else, to put forth the effort to completing the level 1 requirements, and you're taking pride in your professional development. Yet you're seeking that education and training, mostly because we told them they have to in order to do anything else in Civil Air Patrol, but they still did it. So we should recognize them for it. And once you award somebody that, and the whole unit's there and they're being presented something in front of the whole unit, you won't believe the effect that has on a person's psyche to sort of make them have a sense of belonging. This is a really interesting study or topic to research, and I have references all the way back to like 1956 on how these types of presentations affect somebody's how to word it, their sense of belonging and sense of purpose and commonality to an organization or cause. If it wasn't effective, the military wouldn't do it, or organizations wouldn't hold massive award ceremonies and galas and everything else. There's a reason why like Golden Globes and the Tonys and the Oscars or MTV Music Awards or any other Nobel Peace Prize, there's a reason we have, as a culture of human beings, we have these award ceremonies because it is a very powerful event, and it brings people together, and it creates a sense of community. And in a time where we are hurting on membership and active members, this is one of those major key steps to ensure the success and keeping people brought in or coming in and coming back every week. So we need to make sure we take the time to show good work, hard work, even if it's just level 1. I mean, we may say even if it's level 1, but this is a huge step for that individual, especially if they have no military background, never been in CAP before. This is their first time taking any type of formal education, especially leadership focused type training or structured training since high school. This is a big step for a lot of those individuals. So getting that membership ribbon and their level 1 completion certificate, that event alone being presented may change how long that person stays in the Civil Air Patrol. You could, if you don't do it, you could potentially lose them after 3 to 6 months because they don't feel like they were part of the unit. They don't feel like they belong, or they have a purpose, or they're not being productive. You award them, you make them feel a part of the organization, you share in their success. You share their success with everybody, but you share in celebrating their success with them. You'll be surprised on how that builds loyalty and a common sense of purpose. Enough on that. I can do a whole presentation on that topic alone. But award them. They did the work. We have a formal awards program specifically for this. We need to stop ignoring it. So if you have questions, or if there's something that I forgot, you want it added in here. So like when I was going through this, I realized I forgot the pilot onboarding link. I will, before I upload the PowerPoint presentation, I will add that link in there, but unfortunately it's not gonna be in the video, but just look at the PowerPoint, use it, download it. But if you have questions, let me know. Email me, steven.littlewood@vawg.cap.gov, or hit me up in Teams. I'll try to answer them as best as I can, or definitely find the resource for you. And if I forgot something in here, let me know. I want to make sure this is the most comprehensive resource there is for all the units. It doesn't matter if you're education training officer or the commander or deputy commander for seniors, or just the random person told, or you're working on your level 3 and you need to mentor somebody through level 1. Well, here you go. Use this as your tool. If you have recommendations, please let me know. I'll update it. So here's some useful links I wanted to provide everybody. Number 1, how to join Civil Air Patrol. Walk through step-by-step process for the applications, where to send stuff, the dues. I put the membership dues table. So if this actually makes it outside of Virginia Wing and somebody's like, I'm in Oregon and I don't remember what the dues were, or if the dues happen to change, You can go look up what the national, regional, and wing dues are combined together, and it's on that website. CAP regulations, everybody should bookmark CAP regulations library page. So at gocivilairpatrol.com, far right hand of the screen, you'll see members. Click that. You'll see the publications library. Go ahead and click that in the drop-down menu. Bookmark that page or bookmark this hyperlink. That's where you're going to find all the regulations, all the pamphlets, all the forms, all the standards, any new regulations that are coming out that needs peer reviewed by members of Civil Air Patrol, reference documents, templates on how to write memos, and everything you need to do daily job in Civil Air Patrol is right there. All the references they need. I put the pamphlets in there because everybody usually asks, "Hey, where do I find the some of the information for like the new pamphlet for parents of cadets?" Guess what? It's in there. Specialty track information, billet description. So you're mentoring a person from level 1 on to level 2. You're starting to discuss or trying to explain the duty assignments of the ES officer or the search and rescue officer. Well, Civil Air Patrol National Headquarters just published a new pamphlet this year giving sample duty descriptions of most billets. So walk through what the specialty tracks are and the duty assignments are with them. Answer their questions. I put the Volunteer University Level 1 link here. So that explains everything you need to know about Level 1 onboarding courses for the Volunteer University and the Civil Air Patrol Senior Member Education and Training Program. On here, you can get a breakdown of all the required classes based on equivalency credit, if they're prior military, if they're prior cadet, like what, if they earned the Eckert Award or Mitchell Award, like what classes they're going to have to take, what classes will they get credit for. Same with military training. And you can also download, if you're a volunteer university instructor, you can download all of the coursework from that page. So you can download all the level 1 classes and you can modify those as long as you can't change the learning objectives outlined in the instructor guide, but you can add and modify the slides to tailor them to either your teaching style or your area to add additional information in. But you'll learn about that when you go to the Volunteer University Instructor course, which everybody should be doing. The summary, here's a link to the summary conversation. So when it's time to give the summary conversation, this is where you find it. Here's the PDF. Again, if you're looking for that first talk, which you should be doing before the membership board gets together to choose to make the recommendation to the commander to approve somebody's application, you should be doing the first talk with a few of those members. And then this is the follow-up, the summary conversation, going back and just ensuring that individual fully understands the cadet protection program, then all the policies associated with it, and how that act in around cadets and how to deal with different situations. This is a moderated portion of level 1. This has to be done face-to-face. So either face-to-face over Zoom or like in person face-to-face, but you can't do this through email. And you can't just be like, "Hey, read this. Let me know if you have any questions." Like, this is an integrity thing. We can't just be signing off people. We need to ensure that every senior member understands and is willing to abide by the Cadet Protection Program. I put Vanguard in here. This is to the Civil Air Patrol collection. So if you're trying to give them the link to find uniforms and uniform accessories, here you go. Vanguard. And then one of the most important email addresses that you need to know if you are mentoring anybody through any of the levels, if you have anybody that's prior military or professional, background and you're trying to get credit for things or anything fixed, is LMME forms at capnationalheadquarters.gov. Now, if you get a response back from them, and that's hit or miss. But this is where you're going to send DD-214s or completion certificates, or if you had a cadet transfer from the cadet program to the senior member program and you're trying to get their technician or senior rating in cadet programs, this is who you email for all of those issues. Make sure you explain in detail what you're trying to accomplish. So if you're trying to get a prior military individual tier 5 PME equivalency, attach their DD-214, write up the email, make sure it's professional, use your communications guide pamphlet from the publications library, and let them know I have a prior active duty, say, Navy lieutenant commander, has 20 years of military experience, made it to 06, graduate from the Naval Postgraduate School with a master's degree in engineering, went to Command and Staff College with the Marine Corps. On their DD-214, these courses, as referenced on Cap Regulation 40 TAC 1, Attachment 9, qualify for Tier 5 PME equivalency credit. Very respectfully, Captain Littlewood, Prince William Composite Squadron Education and Training Officer. If you have any questions, please contact me directly about this matter. Boom. Send it off. With those, I've never got a response back, but what you will find within a week or two, if you go into that members training tab, so you go to member search, find the individual, click on their name, pull up training, you'll see scrolling down, it's very generic, nondescript. It'll just say, for mine example, it just says tier 5 and then a date. That's it. I never got an email. The other education and training officers didn't get an email. The command didn't get an email. Nothing, no e-services, notification like with ops calls or professional levels or duty assignments. None of that stuff will pop up. It'll just appear. And then you need to go, once it appears, ensure that it's the right level that you were requesting for the individual. Now walk them back through Cap 40 TAC 1, Cap Regulation 40 TAC 1, or go to gocivilairpatrol.com, members, education and training, find the appropriate level that they're working on. So level 1, level 2, part 1, level 2, part 2, level 3, whatever. On the website, you scroll all the way down, there's a summary sheet link. I said sheet, S-H-E-E-T, sheet link. Click on that and it'll pop up and it'll explain, like, a prior cadet will get, this equivalency credit and this what tier credit they get, or prior military, if you have tier 3 PME or higher, then you get equivalency credit for these programs, and explain to them, like, okay, in your professional levels tab for this particular level, it says approved group equivalency credit. So you don't have to take these courses, and there will be a mix of online courses and access or moderated courses, which we won't get into right now because that's above, level 1 onboarding, but they'll get some of that equivalency credit. But you have to send that PME in and definitely select the military path to the progression. Now, what I recommend for my education and training officers, commanders, or command staff, anytime you submit something within professional levels, always put your cap ID and then a statement of what you did. So like mine, 662393, verified senior members, DD-214 for military path to progression. Or if you did the summary conversation, Cap ID conducted a summary conversation on this date with this individual through Teams. And we also discussed, say, uniform requirements and customs and courtesies. What that's going to do, that's going to let everybody else know, and especially during SUIs, that yes, these individuals are actually doing the mentoring. They're actually going in, verifying. If somebody has a question, they know who submitted it, so they can come back to you and ask, like, what did you review? Or why did you submit this? And you can explain it to them. But also, when it's as members progress through their levels and they have to verify that they mentored so many people through level 1 or mentored so many people through level 2 or etc. You're like, oh, I'm mentored at, like, every new senior member in the last 6 months that joined. You just go pull up any of their professional levels stuff, and you'll see where, like, I did their summary conversation, I did this, and I put a note in there. So there's multiple reasons why you want to do it. If you lose track and all of a sudden you're trying to get evaluated for your senior rating for something, or your master rating, or trying to work on your education training progression, you will have that record as long as you remember the individuals that you actually mentored. I think that is it. Oh, nope. Here we go. Here is, this comes out of the 39 TAC 2 attachment 5. I did not actually pull this directly out of that regulation, so I do have to go check to see if that regulation, 1, still exists, 2, still valid, 3, this is still attachment 5. But the information that you see in here, the ORI block, that's the CAP, Civil Air Patrol code that they're going to use for the investigation, and the Civil Air Patrol address location that needs to be typed in. Employee and address, this is what you need to put there: Civil Air Patrol, Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama, zip code, and then your charter number. Make sure you put, like, if you are, Prince William Composite Squadron VA 102, make sure you write that out so they know it can be associated with your e-services profile in your application. For fingerprinting, you're being a volunteer, so you need to get your background investigated. Almost every professional volunteer organization out there, not just Civil Air Patrol, requires some type of in-depth background investigation, especially if you're working around minors or vulnerable individuals. So if you're doing refugee work or anything, there's pretty extensive background checks on it. But this is, you can print this off, you can email this to the individual. It's in the slideshow, it's a JPEG. I won't PDF the presentation, I'll leave it as a PowerPoint, so if you need this. But also there's a reference, just in case you got to go pull it later. All right, and where is my window? Okay, so I thought I was doing good without technical difficulties, but of course there's some right there at the end. Let's see, sharing is paused. Okay, yeah, we're not sharing anything anymore. All right, so I hope this was useful. Again, if there anybody out there, if you have additional information about mentoring and onboarding a new senior member, please let me know. I will add 2 links into the PowerPoint presentation under additional links. I will add the onboarding, pilot onboarding link to that pamphlet. And then I'll also add the Beyond the Cadet Programs pamphlet, the new transition pamphlet for cadets transitioning into the senior member program, giving some explanation on the senior member education and training program, specialty tracks, duty assignments. It's it's good to prepare them because you need to start having their application start getting put together about a month before they turn 21. Get everything ready, their dues, um, fingerprint cards, application, all that stuff ready to get shipped off to national headquarters. So there's not like a, once they turn 21, they get paused. They can't do anything until their application is processed. So it's good to send it in just prior to their 21st birthday, so it's already there when they turn 21. Easy transition, but it'll let you know what all you need to do. So like email LME forms or the member services if they rate a technician or senior and cadet programs. So you have to go in the regulation and look at those. What the application process is for those cadets transferring over, and then also how to get specialty track ratings for also communications and some other things where cadets can do everything but hold a billet and get signed off, or they can't do the senior member education and training progress either. So ensuring that their specialty tracks that they may have accomplished as a cadet get transferred over. Cadet programs is a post-cadet time, but I believe emergency services, communications, and I have to look what other ones the cadets can actually work on and receive credit for before they actually become senior member. But you want to make sure all that stuff's taken care of, because again, you don't want to be like, we held your hand through the cadet programs, but now that you're senior member, figure it out on your own. Then that's probably why we don't have a lot of younger cadets or the younger senior members stick around after the cadet program, because we're like, oh, you should know this or figure it out. I don't know. That's an assumption. Don't take my word for it. All right, I'll stop rambling on. Thank you for viewing. Hopefully you found this useful. And yeah, please leave a comment. Please pass me any updates or additional information you think should go into this, and let's make this a living document. Give it to those that need it to be useful. Maybe you don't have to give them the video, but at least let's hopefully make the PowerPoint useful. All right, thanks for joining in and sitting around. This was a very long presentation, and see you around the wing.